Hello, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I hope you're having a great day, great evening, wherever you are in space and time. I hope that you're having a great time. And today, I wanted to talk about something that I feel very passionate about. And that is why your specific brand of weird is your superpower. And most importantly, how that kind of fits into the world of relationships, the world of creativity, the world of your dreams and following those threads. Because today I was guest teaching in a container, and the whole premise of the container is conversations about truth. And I wanted to get into the unhinged truth about embodied relating and what that really means. And while this wasn't necessarily the main focus that I was planning on giving in my talk, it's what came through. And it was about, half an hour before my talk, and I could feel the energy in the field changing from the night before. I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is interesting. And as someone who deeply trusts herself and trusts her body and trusts my spirit and my soul, I was like, all right, well, just give me the new memo and we'll roll with it. And it kept bringing through this energetic of really embracing your own unique essence of weirdness. And that becomes your calling card. That becomes your superpower. That becomes your unique energy signature that goes out into the world that helps other people who are vibing on that frequency find you. But if you hide it, if you mute it, if you dial it down, if you cloak it in other energy, then you get this mixed bag. You get connections where you don't feel seen or understood or appreciated or amped up or supported. You find yourself in work that sucks your soul, and probably a life that feels like it isn't yours. And the truth is that that's true. It isn't. It isn't the true expression of you. And a lot of people do build a life on a false template. They build a life that wasn't really generated from their heart, wasn't generated from their truth. It was somebody else's dream or someone else's idea of what they should become or who they should be or how they should be. And when we are wanting to create relationships that are really meaningful in all different forms, like this is the best part about this particular perspective, is that you use the same kind of method in all of your relational dynamics. So it's not just this thing you like put on and perform for romantic relationships. You need to practice this with all of your relationships, and then it becomes second nature to do it in your romantic relationships. And when you lead with your weirdness, you're actually leading with your authenticity. Because the weird parts about you are the most true parts about you. The things that you find interesting and you can hyperfixate on for days. Like someone else might not share that same hyperfixation, but they will be enchanted by your passion. They will be enchanted by how present and connected you are to that thing. And this is something that I have worked with couples with a lot in couples therapy, couples coaching. When wanting to build a more cohesive connection with each other, and I inquire and I ask, well, how interested and invested are you in the things that your partner is passionate about? And every time I've asked that question, the answer is very similar, that they're not. They're like, well, I'm not passionate about engines. And it's not that you need to share the same passion. It's that you need to have appreciation for the energy that is kind of capturing their passion, that is part of what kind of brings them to life. I don't really care what someone's passionate about, but when they're on one and they're telling me about it, I'm invested. I'm into it because I'm riding the energy. It's not so much about the topic. It's the energy behind it. And when someone is really passionate and lit up about something, their heart is open. And when their heart is open, you actually can feel they're human. You can feel who they are. So someone could be talking about a topic that I literally have zero interest in. But if they're passionate about it, I'm following along. I'm into it. I'm waiting to see like where the next turn in the story is going to go. Even though I might not have context for what they're talking about, I don't need to have context because I'm following the pulse of aliveness. I'm tracking their unique weird, and I'm like, yes, this person is such a weirdo, and I'm so into it. Even though I'm not necessarily into the thing that they're into, I'm into their weirdness. I'm into the fact that they have so much permission and approval for themselves. And maybe it's just in that particular moment, in that particular topic, but they are willing to let that level of authenticity be seen and be experienced. And I personally think that that is a really beautiful thing. And it's also really rare because a lot of people have been conditioned to tone that part of themselves down or to eradicate it altogether. Like, do not let your weirdness out because what might people think? Well, that's kind of the point. Like, if they think it's dumb, if they think that you're an idiot or a loser, like, okay, good. Because all that means is they are not in resonance with the truth of who you are. And you need to find that out sooner than later. Because a lot of relationships, and the reasons why relationships can be so soul-sucking, that is hard to say fast, is because the connection isn't built on coherence. It's not built on resonance. It's not built on alignment. And like sometimes there is resonance, and I know I talked about this in another episode, where our wounds can have resonance with each other. So this is why you have to vet for other layers as well. It's not just resonance, but like, do we actually have, coherence with each other on a heart to heart level? Does my weird witness your weird and appreciate your weird and vice versa? Like, are you able to bring your full range self out into the open with me? And am I able to do that with you? Because if we are, well, there's a good chance that our connection, the synergy that we're feeling, is because our hearts are open and we're kind of made of the same stuff. And we have a congruence with each other. We have a resonance with each other, and we have alignment with each other. Because relationships are so much more than just a feeling. If you're going to build a life with someone, it's very important that you have congruent values, that you have a congruent vision for yourself and your life together, that you champion their dreams and they champion yours. And then you have shared dreams together that you collaborate on those projects with. And when we are vetting someone, whether it's romantic or platonic, or maybe for a collaboration of some kind, the best way to tell who's for you and who's not for you is by bringing out your weirdness, bringing out your authenticity. And, sometimes people misunderstand authenticity and vulnerability of like, I need to fillet my heart and it needs to be like this deep, sad or intense thing. yes, it can be if that is part of you, if that's a true part of you. But also, like, where's your silly little goose? Where is your weirdo? Where's that unhinged part of you that you let out when no one else is watching? Because that's the real you. Like, who you are behind closed doors when no one's watching, that's the real you. The real you is the person that, you're talking to yourself. The conversations that you're having by yourself with yourself, that's the real you. And they're probably hilarious. They're probably funny. You're probably funny. You're probably a lot more creative and off the walls than you think. And that's because this authenticity, this full range, this weirdness, this kind of unhinged energy gets conditioned out really early because it is really hard to control. It's hard to control someone like that. And in a world that wants control and order and does not want free thinkers and free feelers and creatives in their magic, in their power, because if they are, then they're just going to create a whole new world that makes this dumpster fire obsolete, right? So you got to remember that a lot of these systems, the way that they're kind of playing is to win, to stay relevant, to stay in the position of power. And so we have to outsmart the system. And the system itself requires your inauthenticity. It requires your self-abandonment. And we see this from an early age. In order to fit in, it often requires some degree of self-abandonment. Whether you have to abandon a moral or a particular value in order to fit in the social circle, or maybe you have to abandon a certain quality about you. Maybe I remember this with my cousin. Like, he has the most hilarious laugh I've ever heard. It kind of sounds like a goose honking. I loved it. It always like brought so much joy to me. And like whenever he would be laughing like that, I'm like, that is joy. And it was so palpable, but also contagious. And if y'all have been around me for a while, I love a good laugh. I love laughing. It's one of my favorite things. And all of my friends and we share that common thread, and we're always just egging each other on. And like, there's a lot of laughter. Whenever we have our like gatherings, like you can tell because the house or wherever we're at, there's this vibration of laughter. No matter what conversations are happening, we're having a great time. We're laughing, we're cracking jokes, we're making each other, hee hee ha ha, and it's the best. So it's not surprising to me as a kid, I was equally entertained by that. Like when someone's laughing and like it's a true laugh, like it literally brings my eyes online. They're like, bing, they get a little twinkle, they become a lot clearer, a lot brighter. And I just catch that bug. I catch that contagious energy of joy. And so my cousin had this very distinct laugh as a kid, and he got punished for it a lot, and like physically hit for it and told to shut up and to stop, and that he was horsing around and he needed to behave himself. Have you ever heard that one before? Did you hear that in your childhood? You need to sit down, be quiet, behave. Ugh. I don't know about you, but that doesn't really feel like a vibe to me. Maybe it's just like the inner rebel in me who doesn't like being told what to do, and I never have. And being told to behave, it does something in me where I'm just like, Oh, yeah? Watch me. I'm going to crank it up 1,000 notches now. And to see that get conditioned out of him to the point now as an adult, to me, he kind of feels like a bit of a shell of a human being. Like, I don't see that joy coming out of him. I feel a lot of pain in him, to be honest. And that is really heartbreaking to me, because I think he is not a unique case. I think that is pretty common. A lot of people have that experience where their joy, their vitality, their aliveness is fully online when they come earthside. Kids just naturally know how to emit this frequency of love and possibility and magic and creation. Their imaginations are on. Their vessel is clear. It hasn't been contaminated yet. And by contaminated, I mean a lot of these mind viruses, a lot of these injections of limiting beliefs and limiting perspectives that are designed to kind of break the spirit that hasn't happened to them yet. And so when you're around children who haven't, been broken yet, there is a palpable remembering that happens in your system. So your system feels that coherence. It starts to catch that energetic, and you start remembering those parts of yourself. And when we see how life tends to go, and then we experience, school and like all of the challenges that come with, trying to fit in, navigating social dynamics, navigating family systems. By the time we get to adulthood, a lot of that essence has been muted. A lot of that essence has been diminished. It's likely been criticized. It's likely you've been punished for it. So there's a lot of negative associations with your true essence, with your weirdness, with your unhinged self. And so we take that template that has been conditioned into us, and we're like, okay, well, me as the person that I truly am doesn't work. So let me try and put on a persona. Let me put on this mask. Let me, try on this false self. And most people run with that for the majority of their life. And then they get to an inevitable breaking point where the inauthenticity is too heavy to carry anymore. And that's usually when you see someone having like a midlife crisis, and this is why I never poo-poo people who go through a midlife crisis, because I'm like, oh, this is fucking great. All it means is you've built an inauthentic life, and that's caught up to you. And now the compression of that is so intense that you literally cannot continue being inauthentic. And now you get the opportunity to carve the remainder of your life from this place of true authenticity. But you will have to go through a dark night of the soul or two before you can really lock that in, because you have to process and grieve, the versions of yourself that you abandoned in order to fit into society, into a social circle, into a job that wasn't actually true for you. I was speaking with a friend of mine this afternoon. We were talking about the artist's way and how, a lot of artists are pushed into jobs like to become lawyers or, doctors, engineers, all these things that were never their true calling. And that was someone else's dream. That is someone else's projection onto them. A lot of the time it really comes from a place of safety and like wanting security and safety, but at the expense of your authenticity which means, yes, you might have money in the bank. You might feel secure in that regard, but it's hollow because you've abandoned yourself so long ago that you're like, well, I'm just going through the motions and calling it a life. And quite frankly, I don't think that's the vibe. It's not the vibe for me. And it is not the vibe for the people who come into my vortex, who are in my life, the people in my world and in my inner circle and my close friends. Like, they are living life by design. They are living life on purpose. They are living life intentionally. They are creating themselves alive. They have decided to step off that conventional path and step onto a much more unconventional one, however, a much more fulfilling one. One where you can be all of yourself, like all of you gets to belong. All of you is welcome. And when you live a life where all of you is welcome, guess what? Your life starts to pick up this momentum. It has a cadence, a rhythm to it where serendipitous things start happening and they're just kind of the usual, and when they stop, you're like, oh shit, I'm out of sync. Okay, fine. What am I resisting? What's going on for me? And you've got tools to navigate it. But we still keep that momentum. We keep that pace of leaning into life, leaning into more authenticity, letting our weirdness lead the way, because it is the only way for the people who are your people to find you, to be able to identify you in a sea of people who are pretending to be something that they're not. And if you're doing the same thing, no one's going to be able to really tease you out of that. But when you stand in your full range weirdness, it's like the bat signal. And it's a very prominent signal that gets sent out. And your people are like, wait a second. I feel one of us calling. I can feel it in the ether. And then you get drawn to each other on a frequency energetic level, and then you collide in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's physically, you run into each other. I've had that happen. One of my best friends and soul brothers, that wasn't how we originally met. Originally, we did Landmark together, and we got paired. It was the advanced course, and we got paired in an exercise. And everyone, the rule was once you got the exercise, you got to leave. And him and I just didn't get it. And it's funny looking back now because both of us are very hard-headed. We're stubborn. We're also very passionate people. And so, of course, it made sense that our protector parts at the time just would not let us crack the code. Anyway, we do this exercise. We get paired together. We are literally the last two people in the room. Everyone else has left in a room of 150 people. And we haven't cracked it. And then we finally cracked it. And we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And that was it. We didn't exchange information. We just had that experience with each other. I was like, thank you for that. I will always remember you in this moment because it literally was a course correction. It was one of those moments that changed my life forever. And then I was not living in Vancouver at the time. And I went back home after doing the advanced course, and he wasn't living in Vancouver either. And after getting home and that experience, I'm like, something has to change. I cannot keep living the way that I'm living. I have outgrown this city. I love the city that I was raised in. I really do. And it also wasn't true for me to stay anymore. There was a bigger chapter that was calling. There was something new, that I felt like I was being pulled to Vancouver. And so I had a conversation with my coach about it one day, and he was like, cool, I love this for you. When are you going to do it? Because if you don't commit to a by when, you're never going to do it. It's just going to be this one day, someday, maybe this will happen, and it'll never happen. So you have to commit. You got to put your ass on the line. And I think that's what we'll talk about next week is commitment, because I have some stories about that. And so I made my commitment. I literally just picked a random day in April. I'm like, well, my brother's wedding is this day, so I have to be here until then. So why don't I just pick 2 days after? And that's what I did. I picked that day, I packed my car, and I moved. Had no idea what was going to happen, no plan, a little bit of savings, but not much. Didn't even have a place to live. Just fucking raw dogging life, you know? I'm just like, I'm going to fuck around and figure it out. And so I move in April, and about, I think 4 days before I move, I land a place to stay very serendipitously. And I move into one of the most beautiful communities. It's the community that I live in now. And I'm like, things are always working out for me. I just had this belief that it was going to work out, that I was going to figure it out. Because the belief that this is going to work out for me is also simultaneously saying, I trust myself to figure it out. I trust myself to act in a way that is going to ensure that it works out. It's not this passive thing of like, oh, just the universe, like you figure it out for me. Like you work with the universe, you work with God, you work with your soul. And like the soul, God, universe gives the command, and then you have to action it. That's how this whole thing works. It's not this passive thing where you just kind of get thrown around for the ride. So I knew that I was going to make it work. I have this certainty in myself. Like it's the same certainty that I bring into a relationship. Like it might be uncharted territory, but I know that I'm equipped to figure it out. And I'm committed to figuring it out and making it work and seeing it through. And it's that deep-rooted self-assuredness that makes all the difference. And so even though I didn't have a plan when I moved here, I had that certainty within myself. And about 6 months after moving, I was at an event in a hotel, and I was walking through the hallway, walking and texting, looking down at my phone, texting, and I literally walk into someone. And I look up, and it's my friend Jer, the guy that I did the exercise with in the advanced course at Landmark. And I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, I live here now. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I live here now. And it was just one of those moments where I'm like, it is so undeniable that magic is everywhere. And when we follow that thread of our aliveness, when we follow our own unique weirdness, and like everyone thought I was so weird and like probably insane for moving to a city with no plan, no money, no place to live, no job. Like they were like, you're insane. I'm like, maybe I am, or maybe this is the best thing I've ever done. And it turns out that I was right. It was the best thing I'd ever done. Because in meeting Jer again, because we didn't exchange information when we first met, but when we collided that day, we started hanging out, and it became very obvious that we were meant to be best friends, and he was like a soul brother that I had been waiting my whole life for. And then he introduced me to his circle of friends, and they became my band of brothers. So all of a sudden, I now had this community, this soul community where I actually belonged. It wasn't about fitting in. It was about true belonging. And that was because the kind of entry fee was my weirdness. It was my authenticity. It was following the thread of that. And that's what led me to him and to that community. And then from that community, a secondary community was born here. And I am friends with all of these people to this day. And that's really unheard of, where people make friends in their late 20s and they maintain those friendships 2 decades later. And yet here we are. And everyone in that group, because there is like this frequency that kind of binds us all together, and that frequency is service, contribution. We all have a mission that's bigger than ourselves. And we've all committed to creating that mission into form. And so the calling card to notice each other was our expression and approval of our own unique weirdness. So I want you to take that as a permission slip today to really let yourself surrender into your weirdness, lead with it. You never know where it's going to take you. And I promise you, if you really tap into that true frequency of your unique weirdness, your unique expression, it is going to be the mating call for your soul friends, your soul family, your community, partners, best friends, collaborators. It's the energetic call so that you don't have to hustle and grind and work so hard and swim upstream. You let the energy work with you. And then your job is to keep showing up for life, keep showing up for your craft, keep showing up for your mission, and allowing your authenticity to lead the way. Allow it to be the thing that guides every single thing that you do. And if this is something that you're like, yes, I want that for myself and I have no fucking clue how to do it, then that's when you come work with me. Either come into my one-to-one mentorship or come into my group programs. One-to-one mentorship, that is where we can really get into the nuts and bolts of your unique blueprint, your unique situation, your unique mission, and set you up really powerfully. But if that is out of your financial range, then of course come into the group containers. We still do a lot of that work there. You still get coaching every month. So trust me, like every woman who is in the group container, she's now on her path. She's doing what she's supposed to be doing. And she's a fucking weirdo and I fucking love it. So if that is you, if that is the holding and the support that you are looking for in this season of your life, I would love to connect with you. So hit the application in the show notes and then we'll schedule a call and we'll talk it out and we'll see what the right fit is for you. Okay? I love you, you little weirdo. Go be weird and then come and tell me about it on Instagram. Okay. I love you. Bye.